Have you ever felt like your entire life is just built on a foundation of secrets?
Oh, absolutely. It's a terrifying concept, really.
Right. I mean, really take a second and think about it. What if pulling just one single, seemingly insignificant thread could unravel absolutely everything you thought you knew about your family, your identity, and your past?
It is terrifying. The idea that the ground beneath our feet, the very history that informs who we are, might just be this carefully constructed illusion.
Exactly. And that feeling of the ground completely shifting beneath your feet is exactly what we are exploring today. Welcome to today's deep dive. I am so thrilled you're here with us because we are navigating a story that is going to keep you guessing until the absolute last second.
It really is a wild ride.
It is. The book name is A Thousand Perfect Lies by Monica Murphy. Now, since we all know Monica Murphy's work, especially her incredible talent for weaving intense contemporary romance with these really dark, twisty narratives, you probably already know we are heading straight into the treacherous, elite, and deeply secretive world of Wickham Academy.
We are indeed. And our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack the incredibly complex web of lies that holds this academy and these ultra-wealthy families together.
So much money.
So much money and so much to hide. We're not just going to look at what happens. We want to analyze the psychology of the core characters. We're going to explore this profound, overarching theme, how the sins of the parents inevitably and destructively impact the next generation.
But before we dive into the deep end, just a quick note for you listening. While this story is set against the backdrop of an elite, glitzy boarding school, it touches on some very heavy, gritty themes.
Yeah, it gets dark.
It does. We'll be discussing parental alcoholism, abandonment, underage drinking, recreational drug use, consensual physical intimacy, severe bullying, and murder. We want to ensure you are totally prepared for the gritty reality that exists just beneath the polished surface of Wickham Academy.
It's a crucial distinction to make right at the top, I think. The contrast between the immense privilege of the setting and the dark, often traumatic realities these characters face is, it's really the engine of the entire narrative.
So let's start by looking at our protagonist, Billie. Let's look at her emotional state in those opening chapters. We know she's living in New York, hustling under the table at Doug's dingy sports bar to pay for her mother, Samantha's severe addiction.
Right.
But what's fascinating to me is how she has weaponized her gritty American persona as a shield. Can you break down the psychology behind how she presents herself?
It's a brilliant defense mechanism, really. Billie's life in New York is defined entirely by survival. She's dodging sleazy tourists at this depressing bar, hoarding cash tips, navigating streets that smell like rancid garbage.
Just a totally brutal day-to-day existence.
Exactly. But internally, her biggest threat is actually her mother's past. In the book, Billie reflects on how she actively built her American persona to distance herself from Samantha. She talks about flattening her vowels.
Sharpening her R's.
Yes. Intentionally erasing her mother's refined British aristocratic accent from her own voice.
She goes as far as altering her physical appearance just to avoid seeing her mother in the mirror. She takes her natural brown hair and dyes these thick, chunky blue streaks into it.
Precisely. She is actively rejecting the legacy of wealth and refinement that her mother represents, because that legacy is entirely tied to the trauma of her mother's alcoholism and her father's abandonment.
It's all connected for her.
Right. Billie associates that refined British upper-crust world with destruction, so she makes herself loud, blue-haired, and aggressively working-class American. It's armor.
But then that armor gets completely stripped away. Because on the other side of the world is her estranged father, Peter Vale, a man of practically limitless wealth and status.
Who hasn't been in the picture for over a decade.
Right. And suddenly, he summons her. And he doesn't ask for a favor. He issues a mandate.
He does. And this sets up a fascinating power dynamic. He forces Billie to cross the ocean to help him with a massive problem. But Billie, being the absolute survivor that she is, doesn't just roll over and accept her wealthy father's demands.
She pushes back?
She negotiates. She demands two non-negotiables. Peter must prepay for a full 90-day stint at the Merciful Mary Rehabilitation Center for Samantha, and he must prepay 3 months of rent for their New York apartment.
So let's look at this deal with the devil. Is Peter doing this out of some buried paternal instinct? Or is this purely transactional?
It is entirely transactional, which highlights the cold utility of Peter's wealth. He's using his vast resources not out of a sudden burst of love for Billie, but purely as leverage.
Because he needs her.
He needs an insider. He needs someone entirely unknown to his elite social circle to go undercover at Wickham Academy to fix a catastrophic public relations and legal nightmare.
And that nightmare, of course, centers entirely around Billy's sister, Isla. Technically, they're only 14 months apart, what their mom used to call Irish twins.
But they grew up worlds apart.
Completely different universes. And right now, Isla is in a coma, lying in a hospital bed, guarded by police. Because she is the prime suspect in a murder-suicide attempt that left her best friend, Emily Wells, dead at the bottom of the Wickham Cliffs.
The stakes Murphy establishes here are suffocating. Peter informs Billy that in exactly 2 weeks, Isla will be formally charged with Emily's murder.
2 weeks.
14 days. And once charged, she will be moved to a northern medical facility that is completely unreachable, heavily guarded, and beyond even Peter's immense sphere of influence.
So Billy is on a ticking clock.
Billy has exactly 14 days to infiltrate the school, find out what really happened on those cliffs, and clear her sister's name before she loses her forever.
But she can't just show up as the blue-haired, vowel-flattening bartender from New York. She has to assume an entirely fake identity orchestrated by Peter and his wife, Whitney.
She has to become Belinda Winters, Manhattan socialite.
Which requires a profound psychological violation for her. To become Belinda, she has to dye her hair back to its natural color. She has to put on the expensive, preppy clothes.
She has to step into a world of extreme privilege that her mother came from and that her father deliberately withheld from her.
There's this great passage in the book where she's in her tiny, depressing bathroom, holding the box of hair dye, practicing her Belinda voice in the mirror.
Oh, I love that scene.
She's trying to sound rich and vacuous, saying things like, Malta is so 2022, and talking about her vintage Givenchy bag. It's hilarious, but when you look deeper, it's actually incredibly sad, right?
It really is. It shows how she views wealth as a costume, as a performance of superficiality. She thinks if she just drops the right designer names and affects a bored tone, she'll blend in.
Like it's just a shallow act.
Exactly. But what she doesn't realize yet is that the wealth at Wickham isn't just a costume. It's a deeply entrenched, ruthless ecosystem.
And you really feel the emotional weight of her leaving her real life behind. Right before she leaves New York, she's packing her single backpack. Her mother forces her to take this chipped gold frame.
Such an important detail.
It holds the last photo of the four of them, Samantha, Peter, Billy, and Isla, together as a family on a cliff in England. Billy claims she doesn't want it, that she doesn't live in the past, but she packs it anyway.
That photograph is a vital anchor for her identity. It's a tangible piece of her broken past that she carries into a place entirely built on illusions.
He grounds her.
It symbolizes her inability to completely let go of this family, no matter how much she claims she hates them. She's risking everything for a sister she barely knows and a father she despises, all to save a mother who might be beyond saving.
So Billy, now Belinda, arrives at Wickham Academy, and she immediately runs into Whitney Ashburn Vale, Peter's wife, and Isla's stepmom.
The welcoming committee.
Right. Now, if you're expecting a warm maternal welcome for the prodigal stepdaughter, that is absolutely not what happens.
Not at all. Whitney is a fascinating character study in elite preservation. On the surface, she is the epitome of polished, icy wealth. But beneath that exterior, she is fiercely, almost terrifyingly protective of Isla.
When Billy arrives, Whitney pulls her into her office. Billy, perhaps unconsciously, hopes for a sliver of familial warmth. But Whitney immediately thrusts a perfectly manicured finger in Billy's face and warns her to never, ever reveal that they are related.
Whitney is the one orchestrating this entire fake identity.
She makes it crystal clear that Billy is there as an operative, not as family.
We have to understand Whitney's desperation here. She loves Isla as her own daughter. She knows that professional investigators, the police, the lawyers, none of them will get anywhere with the insular, secretive student body of Wickham.
They protect their own.
These kids are trained from birth to close ranks. Whitney knows they need a Trojan horse. They need a peer, someone on the inside. Belinda Winters is that Trojan horse.
And Whitney provides Billy with the lay of the land, warning her about the key players she needs to watch out for. Because Billy is essentially walking into a live game of Clue, expanded to an entire campus.
It's a classic locked room mystery setup. Everyone has a motive, everyone is hiding something, and everyone's future is on the line.
So Billy starts her investigation the only way she knows how, by snooping. She is assigned to Isla and Emily's old dorm room, which is just incredibly morbid when you think about it.
Highly unsettling.
And while she's looking around, she finds her first real clue. It's a defaced Polaroid wedged under a desk. It's a picture of Isla looking incredibly happy, standing next to another girl in a Wickham uniform. But the other girl's face has been violently scribbled over with thick ink.
Completely obliterated.
Obliterated.
The symbolism of the erased identity is palpable there. Someone wanted to symbolically and perhaps literally wipe that girl out of existence. But that's not the only piece of the puzzle Billie finds. In the massive dossier Peter provided her, there is Isla's old yearbook.
Oh, I loved how she hid that. Billie had brilliantly hidden it inside a decorative throw pillow shaped like a bottle of hot sauce.
It's such a quirky teenager thing to have in a dorm room, making it the perfect hiding spot.
It really is.
Huh.
And inside that yearbook, she finds cryptic notes left by Isla. Isla had circled specific faces: Priya Shah, Abigail Roth, Julian Ashworth, Freddie Pembroke, and a boy named Connor Wells.
And in the margins, Isla wrote the letters LL with a question mark and the acronym Art Smear.
Which immediately tells us that Isla and Emily weren't just innocent victims of a random fight on a cliff. They were investigating something big. They were onto a secret that got them into serious trouble.
And Billie's first target is her new roommate, Priya Shah.
Let's really analyze Priya, because she represents a very specific, agonizing type of pressure cooker environment found in these elite institutions. Priya is academically obsessed.
But Billie, having grown up surviving on the streets of New York, has a keen eye for hustle. She quickly realizes Priya's drive is more than just wanting good grades. Billie notices a subtle detail. The bulletin board above Priya's desk is always slightly crooked.
The crooked bulletin board, it's such a great tell. Billie waits until Priya's is gone, tilts it off the wall, and discovers a hidden ledger taped to the back.
It's a detailed log of times, code words, names, and cash prices. Priya has a secret side hustle. She is selling old exams to students.
And look at the mechanics of this operation. She's using a burner phone. She's taking payments strictly in cash, which, in a heavily surveilled, cashless elite society like Wickham, is the only way to remain untraceable.
To maintain this immense workload, run this illicit business, and keep her top academic standing, Priya is also severely abusing legal prescription pills. She is pushing herself to the absolute breaking point.
So Billie confronts her. And this confrontation cracks open the intersection of class and secrets that defines Wickham Academy. Priya breaks down. She confesses to the exam ring and the pills, but she also reveals another massive secret. She's in a romantic relationship with her best friend, Abigail Roth.
Now, in many modern contexts, a same-sex relationship isn't the scandal it once was. And Priya explicitly tells Billie that her parents wouldn't care that she's gay. The secret has absolutely nothing to do with shame over her sexuality.
Right, so why keep it a secret? Why the intense paranoia?
It has everything to do with the legacy list, that LL from Isla's notes. We have to look at the socioeconomic disparity between Priya and Abigail. Abigail is a fifth-generation legacy at Wickham. Her family's name is probably on a building.
Her future is utterly secure.
Completely secure. Priya, on the other hand, is the first in her family to get in. It's new money anxiety versus old money security.
Priya explains that if she can secure the absolute top academic spot on the legacy list, it will guarantee easy entry for her younger siblings and their children and so on.
She tells Billie, this could set our future family on a path to excellence.
It's about upward mobility and generational wealth for her entire family line. She is carrying the weight of her family's future on her shoulders.
She fears that any scandal, whether it's selling exams, taking pills, or a highly visible relationship with a legacy student that might draw the scrutiny of the administration or conservative board members, will ruin her chances.
The stakes for her are incredibly high.
She is terrified of being the reason her family fails to cross that threshold into true generational elite status. And Abigail understands this. Abigail acts aggressively to protect Priya, keeping everyone at a distance so no one looks too closely at Priya's intense pressure and rule-breaking.
It perfectly illustrates how everyone at this school is wearing a mask, and the things people hide aren't always what you expect. It's not about hiding a romance. It's about protecting a fragile socioeconomic foothold.
And this theme of masks and hidden truths brings us to a really poignant visual in the book. There is a bronze statue in the campus courtyard, dedicated by the class of 1998. The plaque reads, "The only danger in friendship is that it will end."
A quote from Henry David Thoreau.
That statue is a masterful piece of foreshadowing by Murphy. It perfectly encapsulates the tragedy of Isla and Emily's friendship in the present day. They were inseparable, and the end of that friendship resulted in death and a coma.
But crucially, it was dedicated by the class of 1998, the year Peter and Billie's mother, Samantha, graduated. That class holds its own dark secrets that will completely recontextualize the entire novel.
But before we dig into the sins of the past, we have to talk about the boys of Wickham in the present, specifically the most intriguing and tragic figure on campus, Connor Wells.
Connor is Emily's older brother, and his position in Wickham is incredibly precarious. He didn't just lose his sister to this tragedy on the cliffs, he lost his entire standing in the world.
Let's unpack that, because the financial scandal surrounding Connor's family is vital to understanding the plot. Before Emily died, their father, William Wells, was arrested for massive corporate embezzlement.
He worked as a fiduciary wealth manager for the Lumitate Group, which is this massive, powerful firm started by Freddie Pembroke's family.
We need to explain what that means in this context. As a fiduciary wealth manager, William Wells was legally and ethically bound to manage his clients' assets in their best interest. To be accused of embezzlement at that level isn't just stealing money. It's a profound breach of trust that destroys reputations instantly.
It's professional and social suicide.
When the scandal broke, the Wells family's assets were completely frozen by the authorities. They went from being titans of industry to having absolutely nothing.
Connor went from being a golden boy legacy to a pariah overnight. The only reason he is still at Wickham, the only reason he wasn't expelled for failing to pay tuition, is because someone in the administration pulled strings to get him an Artsmer.
An arts merit scholarship. That was the other clue in Isla's yearbook notes.
And Connor is isolated, he's grieving, and he's deeply, deeply bitter. He actually believes the rumors that Isla murdered his sister. When Billy first meets him, they were standing in front of a painting in the school, and Connor bitterly states that Isla killed his creativity and his sister.
The dynamic between them is so tense because Billy knows exactly who she is, but she has to play the part of Belinda. And this creates an agonizing ethical dilemma for her.
As she spends time with Connor investigating him, she actually starts falling for him.
She finds a kindred spirit in his trauma. Think about it. Billy has spent her life surviving the poverty caused by her mother's addiction. Connor has just been thrust into a form of poverty caused by his father's alleged crimes.
They both intimately understand what it's like to have their lives completely upended by the selfish actions of their parents.
They recognize the survivor in each other. It's a connection built on shared unspoken trauma.
But she is burdened by the massive lie of her fake identity. She is falling in love with the brother of the girl her sister allegedly murdered, while lying to his face every single day about being Belinda Winters. It is a ticking time bomb.
The romantic tension Murphy builds here is beautifully executed, but it's constantly undercut by this dramatic irony. The listener and Billy know that the truth has to come out eventually, and when it does, it's going to be devastating for a boy who has already lost his ability to trust anyone.
There are so many incredibly sweet, vulnerable moments before the inevitable explosion. There's this specific scene that I just loved, where Connor sets up this incredibly romantic date for them inside the campus greenhouse.
He builds a cozy little tent out of white cotton sheets, strings up fairy lights, puts down blankets and pillows.
It's just this perfect, safe, sensory bubble away from the toxic environment of Wickham.
It's a moment of pure vulnerability. In that greenhouse, they aren't legacy students or scholarship kids or murder suspects. They are just two traumatized teenagers finding comfort in each other. And it stands in stark contrast to the massive secrets surrounding them.
Because during her investigation, Billy uncovers another massive piece of the puzzle regarding Isla, and it comes from Julian Ashworth.
Julian Ashworth. He reveals to Billy that he and Isla were deeply in love, but they kept their relationship entirely hidden from the entire school.
Which Billy couldn't understand at first. Why hide it? Isla was gorgeous, smart, popular, wealthy. It made no sense.
But Julian explains it wasn't about Isla's status, it was about their fathers. Julian's father, Max Ashworth, has harbored a bitter 20-year-long grudge against Peter Vale.
So Julian was essentially a coward. He loved Isla, but he was terrified that his father would view the relationship as a personal betrayal. He kept Isla a secret to protect his own standing and inheritance within his family.
If we compare Julian and Abigail Roth, it's a fascinating study in how these elite kids handle pressure. Abigail fiercely and aggressively protects Priya, pushing the rest of the world away to keep Priya safe.
Right.
Julian, on the other hand, hides Isla away to keep himself safe from his father's wrath. It shows the different manifestations of loyalty and fear in this environment.
And it's Julian who drops the biggest plot twist regarding Connor's family and the Lumitate Group. He tells Billy that Connor's father, William Wells, is actually innocent of the embezzlement charges.
Completely innocent. He wasn't stealing money at all. William Wells was secretly acting as a confidential informant for the National Crime Agency.
The NCA.
Yes, the NCA. He was wearing a wire, gathering evidence, and helping to build a massive federal case against the real criminals operating within the Lunatic Group.
This revelation shifts the entire landscape of the mystery. It proves that the embezzlement scandal wasn't just a backdrop to the story, it was the central catalyst. William Wells got too close to the truth, so the real criminals framed him to discredit his testimony and freeze his assets.
But before Billie can fully put the pieces together and figure out who the real criminals are, her own lies catch up with her. The ticking time bomb finally detonates.
The fallout is absolutely brutal. They are in that beautiful greenhouse with fairy lights, and the guilt just becomes too much for Billie. She can't keep lying to the boy she loves. She confesses everything.
She tells Connor that she isn't Belinda Winters' Manhattan socialite.
She tells him that she is Isla's sister, and that she is there undercover, planted by Peter Vale, to prove Isla didn't kill Emily.
Let's break down the psychology of Connor's reaction, because it is visceral. This isn't just a teenage breakup. Connor has lost his sister to violence. He has lost his father's reputation to lies. He has lost his family's wealth to a frame job.
He's lost everything.
And now, the one person he thought was a safe harbor, the girl he opened up to in the greenhouse, turns out to be a fiction. And worse, a fiction orchestrated by the very family he suspects ruined his life.
He's furious. He feels completely violated. He tells her to leave campus immediately or he will expose her to everyone. He threatens to go to the police and tell them Peter Vale planted a fake student to impede a murder investigation.
He absolutely shatters her.
He walks out, slamming the door, and Billie is left literally sobbing on the floor of the greenhouse among the fairy lights.
It's the lowest point for her character. She feels like a total failure. She's alienated the boy she loves, and she hasn't found the concrete evidence to save her sister from being transferred to that medical facility. This total alienation from Connor leaves Billie with nowhere to turn in the present.
So her only option is to look backward. And that pulls us right into the timeline of the 1998 Wickham reunion.
Billie has less than 48 hours before Isla is formally charged with murder. She is desperate. She packs her bags to leave Wickham, convinced she's failed. But before she goes, she confronts Peter Vale.
She demands answers about his past with Max Ashworth, hoping to find a motive for why someone might want to frame Isla.
But Peter, cornered, desperate, and seeing Billie about to walk away just like her mother did, drops the ultimate bombshell of the novel.
I literally gasped when I read this part. Peter reveals that he is not Billie's biological father.
Think about what this does to Billie's psyche. The entire foundation of her resentment, her anger, her feelings of abandonment, her carefully constructed American persona, it is all instantly recontextualized.
The man she hated for abandoning her never actually abandoned her. He was never hers to begin with.
So what actually happened? Peter finally tells her the truth about the 1998 Wickham reunion. The night of the final dinner dance, it was incredibly hot in the ballroom. Billie's mother, Samantha, went outside for some fresh air, taking the path toward the cliffs. Peter, who was hopelessly in love with Samantha, followed her, intending to propose.
But when he arrives at the cliffside, Samantha isn't alone. She is there with another classmate, George Canterbury, a man who, importantly, was engaged to someone else at the time.
Peter watches from the shadows as an argument breaks out between Samantha and George. It escalates into a violent physical struggle right on the edge of the cliff. George is threatening her. In the ensuing struggle, George goes over the edge and dies.
It's strongly implied that Samantha pushed him in self-defense to save her own life and the life of her unborn child.
Because Samantha was pregnant with George's baby, Billie.
It is a massive lot to process. Samantha's in shock, ready to confess everything to the police. But Peter stops her. He convinces her to lie. He tells her that no one will believe it was self-defense, that the Canterbury family has too much money and influence, that she'll go to prison and her baby will be taken away by the state.
Let's analyze Peter's complex morality here. For the entire story, Peter has been presented as a callous, demanding, controlling billionaire. But his actions in 1998 were they driven by a desperate, albeit misguided, desire to protect the woman he loved. He actively chose to become an accessory to a cover-up to save Samantha from prison.
Wait, I have to push back on that. Is it really about protecting her? Or is it about Peter manipulating an incredibly traumatic situation so he can finally play the hero and trap Samantha into a life with him? He uses her fear to bind her to him.
That is the brilliant ambiguity Murphy writes into the character. It's likely a toxic mixture of both. He genuinely wants to save her, but he also seizes the opportunity to possess her, He walks her back into the ballroom, her face tear-stained, and announces to the entire party that she is crying because they just got engaged.
He uses a joyous lie to cover up a horrific, bloody truth.
But the psychological toll of that secret was too much for Samantha. The guilt of George's death and the suffocating lie she was forced to live with Peter drove her to severe alcoholism. It was the only way to numb the memories of the cliff.
Eventually, she couldn't stand to look at the cliffs or Peter or the life they built. She fled to America with Billie, the only tangible reminder of George leaving Peter to raise his own biological daughter, Isla, alone.
The visceral shock Billie feels in this moment is palpable on the page. She realizes her entire life, her mother's crippling addiction, her poverty in New York, her feelings of being abandoned. It was all the radioactive fallout of a single horrific night on the Wickham Cliffs.
It's the ultimate manifestation of generational trauma. The secrets of 1998 literally paved the way for the tragedy of the present day. The location is exactly the same, the Wickham Cliffs.
There is this quote from Peter that just gutted me. When Billie asks him why he would cover it up and let Samantha leave, why he would pay for her rehab all these years later, he asks her, "Have you ever loved someone who could never love you back?"
He did all of it knowing she didn't love him the way he loved her. It's incredibly tragic.
Armed with this devastating truth about how secrets destroy people from the inside out, Billie experiences a massive paradigm shift. She realizes that hiding from the truth is what destroyed her mother's life. It's what turned Peter into a cold, controlling man. She refuses to let history repeat itself. She refuses to run back to New York.
Exactly. She unpacks her bags. She's not leaving Wickham. She hunts down Connor, and she lays everything out for him. Not just the truth about her identity, but the truth about the embezzlement, William Wells acting as an informant, and the realization of who the real villain is.
And this brings us to the climax of the novel. Billie and Connor finally piece the puzzle together. They realize that Freddie Pembroke is the architect of the present-day tragedy.
Freddie Pembroke, the charming, witty, incredibly wealthy prep school guy with the golden eyes. It turns out his family, the founders of the Lunatic Group, were the ones orchestrating the massive embezzlement. And when Connor's dad, William, acting as an informant for the NCA, got too close to exposing them, the Pembrokes framed him.
But how does that connect to Emily and Isla on the cliff?
Well, Emily and Isla were brilliant. They were conducting their own investigation into the financial discrepancies that ruined Emily's family. That's what the ledger and the Arksmore notes in the yearbook were about.
They figured out the Pembrokes were guilty and that William Wells was innocent. They knew. And Freddie knew that they knew. So what happened on the cliff that night? Freddie followed them there.
This is Murphy's core thesis on extreme wealth and corruption. The ultimate villainy here isn't a crime of sudden passion, it's the violent apathy of the elite. During a confrontation on the slippery cliff edge, Emily lost her footing. She reached out, stumbling toward Freddie for help.
And Freddie, he didn't reach back. He just stepped aside. He literally stepped out of the way and watched her fall to her death. He let Emily die to protect his family's wealth and status.
And in the process, he destroyed Isla, who tried to save Emily and ended up falling and slipping into a coma.
It's chilling. Freddie didn't push her, but his deliberate inaction was an act of murder. He just decided she wasn't worth saving if it cost his family their status. And now, Billie and Connor know the truth. They lure Freddie to the cliffside tree, the exact scene of the crime, to confront him.
The confrontation is incredibly cinematic. The wind is howling off the water, they're standing right on the edge of the abyss, and Freddie just completely unravels. The polished, charming prep school boy drops his mask.
He is manic, unhinged, rambling about how his entire life is shaped by keeping his family's secrets. And then he attacks. He grabs a heavy tree branch and charges at Billie, intending to physically push her off the edge to finish what he started with Emily.
But this is where we see the ultimate resolution of Billie's internal conflict. Freddie expects her to cower, to be a victim. He expects to physically force her off the cliff.
But Billie doesn't let him. In this incredibly adrenaline-fueled moment, as he rushes her with the branch, Billie actively jumps over the edge herself.
Let's examine the metaphor here because it is brilliant writing. For her entire life, Billie has been running from the truth, just like her parents did in 1998. Her mother hid in a bottle, Peter hid behind a false engagement, Julian hid in the shadows.
But Billie realizes that running from the abyss only causes more pain. Her literal leap off the cliff is a profound metaphor for taking ultimate control of her own narrative.
She doesn't jump to her death, obviously. She jumps down to a small, hidden outcropping just below the edge, escaping Freddie's swing and causing him to lose his balance from his own momentum. By jumping on her own terms, she strips Freddie of his power to make her a victim.
By letting go of the safety of the ledge, by letting go of the fake protective persona of Belinda Winters, she finally learns how to be the real Billie Vale. She faces the abyss head-on, and she survives.
The emotional aftermath of this climax is so cathartic. Freddie is exposed and arrested by the authorities. Connor, seeing Billie literally risk her life for the truth and for his sister's memory, completely forgives her for the lies. The shared trauma that brought them together is replaced by a shared victory.
Whitney, who finally learns the whole truth about what happened in 1998, fully accepts Billie and vows to use the Vale resources to help Samantha genuinely recover.
And most importantly, there is hope. Isla's name is cleared, the murder charges are dropped, and the family is just waiting for her to wake up from the coma, free from the shadow of Freddie's crimes.
What an incredible, sprawling journey. From a dingy New York bar smelling of stale beer to the treacherous, windswept cliffs of Wickham Academy, 1,000 Perfect Lies masterfully weaves together a murder mystery, elite school corruption, and this deeply profound exploration of generational family trauma.
It reminds us that the past is never truly buried. It always resurfaces. And the foundations we build our lives upon must be made of truth, no matter how ugly or painful that truth might be, because lies will inevitably rot the structure from the inside out.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder long after this deep dive ends. The characters in this story destroyed their own lives by trying to protect the people they loved with lies. Peter lied to protect Samantha from prison. Julian lied to protect his relationship with his father. Abigail lied to protect Priya's fragile socioeconomic standing.
But is a perfect lie ever truly justified? Or does the sheer weight of a secret always, inevitably, collapse the foundation of a family? Think about the things you leave unsaid to protect your own loved ones. Are you really shielding them? Or are you just building a cage?
A very provocative question to leave on.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into 1,000 Perfect Lies. We will see you next time.